So, all right. Hey everyone, I'm so excited. You know why I'm excited? Because my favorite show called Suits is on Netflix and it has 8 seasons. And I'm telling you, when I watched Suits when it was on terrestrial TV and it was on for like an hour a day on what was it, USA. I came into the middle of it, so I didn't know how it began, and I was addicted to it back then, but then I don't really watch TV anymore or catch the USA channel because it's not like you just don't know where you're coming in. So when you watch the seasons from beginning to end and binge on them, Suits is about legal eagles. It's about a bunch of suits dealing with contracts and legalities and courtroom drama and litigation and all that stuff. And that one thing you really must understand when it comes to this world, the law is the number one thing. Natural law, man-made law, contractual law. I mean, that's why the Jewish people that run our society, so to speak, people say anyways, they get into law, they get into physics, engineering, they get into medicine, they get into the infrastructure, the main infrastructure of our world. They get into entertainment, which is basically education, brainwashing for the times in our world. So, so me coming from a background of law and engineering, chemistry, and psychological sciences, behavioral sciences, that's again like a perfect storm. And then of course being in Silicon Valley, being raised around computers and going to school with a bunch of eggheads or extremely smart people that were in Microsoft or in Intel or other places, that was just another perfect storm. And of course me dating people in Silicon Valley who are extremely smart, who were extremely smart, are extremely smart, and taking on that knowledge in Silicon Valley, then you realize how everything is connected and how you want to know how the law works. And so watching not only the courtroom dramas, but watching Suits on Netflix is giving you an understanding of how the law works through an entertaining type of venue. Because you can only, how long can you really go into the conspiracy world and keep reiterating or stating the obvious? We know we're in a scale down. There's so many different things in play. Yeah, alien agenda. Yeah, there's going to be really crazy storms. We're in hurricane season. There's one right now called Hurricane Brett, that is circulating out there in the Atlantic, and it's going to come to America at some point. Possibly not this week, but next week. It's going to hit the lower Antilles this week, and then head its way up through to Cuba and then all the way up to Florida. And then you know where that is going to go. So we know this shit's going on. So if you're not in America and you're like in the UK and you don't have anything major learn everything. Learn everything you can. Yeah, we're going to be in a surveillance. We're already in a surveillance society. Robots are going to run everything. Not everything, but a lot of things. You know now that the medical system is not poisonous if you know how to wean yourself off. And then finally not go into there. The medical system is only for those that can't handle the energy that they are trying to convert. And so now you got to learn everything. You got to learn everything from physics, chemistry, law, to everything, math, English. I mean, don't leave anything off the table. Learn it all. You have the time to learn it all now. And if you're in Florida, then you have to survive because you know there's another hurricane coming through. It's going to come through and decimate so many things. Okay? And so if you're not in those areas, do everything you can to build up your brain and release the demons and build up your body. Okay? And so let me read this because, yesterday I felt really awesome. I took a nap and I was watching Suits. And that's why I was posting those, my take on contractual law, because contracts is everything. It's the words, it's the engagement, it's hot. Hold on, let me open up this door. Engagement with people verbally, what is it? Yeah, verbally, and then intellectually, and engaging people through the written word, like through correspondence, through letters, through email, through money exchange. Okay, those are all contracts. And then when you hang out with people, you're entering into a microbial contract. And so everything is connected, just to what degree are they connected and how accountable you are within that contract. So everything you do in the universe is legally binding. It's just to what degree are you held accountable for the contractual obligations within the universal contract. Okay, I got to redo that. If you keep resisting, the stress and the breakage will destroy you and your family. And so when I was thinking about all the people that are selling Organite and all the energy blockers, and I had people, send me Organite and energy blockers back a couple years ago. And no, I don't need anything to block energy. If anything, I need to learn how to assimilate to the changing energy in the environment, because we're going to be, COVID is never going to be over with, okay? We're going to be in a continuous pandemic because the instability is going to cause people to release their demons. And so I don't want to block any energy. I want to assimilate to all energy, to everyone in my environment, to everyone that I come across, to anything, any change in the environment. I don't want to block any energy, because it's still energy conversion. You're not really blocking energy. You can't create or destroy energy. It just gets converted. And so do you have the energy to convert the energy that's in your environment? And so when people are thinking that they live in an island unto themselves and they have like a billion things of energy blockers and organ amplifiers, which, what is organ? It's a pyramid with resin and heavy metal shavings that supposedly are supposed to block positive energy or the free radicals from all the CERN and Wi-Fi and stuff. But they don't realize that they still live in a world full of Wi-Fi, CERN, and HARP, and they have to leave their little tiny area. They can't just stay in one place. And even if they do, energy will still get in. And just because you're in some kind of like Faraday cage where you have all these energy blockers around you and you're wearing all these crystals that supposedly repel energy, no, it's still energy conversion. It's still taken away from you because you are still a conductor. You still have radiation in you. Okay, you still have to convert energy no matter what. Even blocking energy is converting energy in your body. And so when people wear all this organ all over their body, right? Or they're wearing tinfoil, or who knows, whatever, they're still conducting energy. Energy can't be created or destroyed, only converted. And again, do you have what it takes to convert the energy? So those are all into the organ and organ amplifiers. They're in the holistic world, and they're aging out because they still have to convert that energy that they're trying to block. You can't block energy. You can't. Energy is it just keeps converting itself. And when you're bringing in major amounts of conductors like heavy metals and resins, that's still going to conduct energy. It's still going to be energy conversion. You still have to deal with that. It's not like you can escape energy. But we have people saying there's good energy and bad energy. It's all on how you convert it. And if you can't convert it, then it's all going to be bad energy no matter what. No matter how much someone says that's good energy, it'll be bad energy to you because you have a lack of the ability to convert energy to your benefit. That's the issue with the holistic world and the allopathic world, is they are actually entering into a contract that says that they have a lack of ability to convert energy to their benefit, and so they'll be sold everything under the sun to say that it's helping them, when how do you know it's helping them? Because again, being in an equilibrium state, like cured, is a pathway to eventual 100% cured death. And so if you keep resisting, the stress and the breakage will destroy you and your family. You might neutralize a little bit of stress by countering somebody else's negative energy or blocking it, like when I hit block and delete. But you can't stop the universe and the powerful machines that are giving off the positive energy that you try to use negative energy to block it. That you try to use negative energy blockers, because what you're advocating is equilibrium. 100% cured or death. At some point, you must understand assimilation. And so energy radiation and energy blockers are no different than using antibiotics. You must condition your body for the environment. Using energy blockers can make you weak because it's still energy coming at you. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only converted. All you're doing is using more energy to convert energy you think is poison. No different than scaring people away from AirPods. So when someone uses AirPods and they says, oh God, all the radiation in the ear, well then build your brain up. Feed your brain. meat, milk, cheese, eggs, fruits, vegetables, whatever, but definitely more protein and definitely more fat. So you can add, so that when you hear about animals that were radioactive in Chernobyl, they're different than the animals that are not from Chernobyl. What's the difference? They're probably very strong in their immune system because they survived something as aggressive as that. And they were conditioned for that excessive amount of energy, and they had to eat for that energy. Because if they didn't eat, they would die from all that radioactivity. So what was their natural instinct? Is to feed the energy, and they survived, and they procreated, and they developed very strong offspring that are highly radioactive. Yes, they have a lot of energy to them, like they're glowing, like you see in The Simpsons. And so they are bigger and probably more predatory because they have a lot more mass and a lot more everything than the average animals in another part of the country that didn't have the radioactive output. Okay, so when you want to be smarter, use the fucking AirPods, feed your brain information that's going to be useful to you, and feed the energy. That's how you're going to survive this. You keep trying to resist the energy, the new energy, the aggressive energy out there. Again, that's called breakage, stress, breakage, and then death. A disconnect. And so you must condition your body for the environment. And so using energy blockers can make you weaker because it's still energy coming at you. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only converted. All you're doing is using up more energy to convert energy you think is poison. No different than scaring people away from AirPods. Radiation is not bad unless you have no idea how to convert that energy to your benefit. Obviously, vast amounts of radiation from an atomic bomb is not good. But a little bit of radiation through a conditioning process causing, yes, stress and evolution is not bad as long as you know how to feed it and reconfigure yourself. Release the damage because you're always surrounded by different types of energy and radiation. All right? And even your friends and family give off amounts of radioactive energy because of how much energy you take in, causing stress and then distribute out. Even if you unplugged everything, everything in your environment and use so much energy blockers, using so many energy blockers in your environment, you still have to go outside and take on the radiation from different places. When you walk into a mall, when you go to a store, when you hang out at your friend's house who's next to a cell tower. Okay, you can't just think you're gonna just be underground and be like a mole. I mean, come on. At what point do you learn how to assimilate to your environment, people who are scared of everything? So no one ever stays in one place forever. They have to go shopping. They have to go online. You have to condition yourself for the lifestyle you choose, or else you're setting yourself up for failure. Okay, so that right there was really important that I wanted to focus on because. Like, I see people coming through that are watching my page, and a lot of them, are homeopathic people. They're in the organ amplifying community, and they're checking out my stuff, going like, who is this chick? What the hell is she's about? Whatever, who knows? But I'm telling you, resistance is futile. And when you learn the laws of nature, every single time, you already in a legally binding contract with the universe once you're born. How are you going to deal with that contract that was given to you? Someone may have forced you to come into this world, yes, and be held to a specific contract up until you're 18 years old. What is that contract? Your parents have entered you into contracts with the medical system, the holistic system, with the school system, with every single thing that has to do with you being brought up in a society that you live in. And then you have the power at some point to renegotiate that contract that you were forced into as a baby, as a child, and as a young adult before you're 18. When you're 18, you have every chance to redirect the contracts that were given to you because you were not of sound mind. See, that's the loophole in every contract, is that you either have 3 days right after you sign to say, okay, I don't want to be part of this contract, or you can prove that you were. Well, they already have it in there that if you're 18, you can make your own decisions, which means that you don't have to abide by the contracts that your parents gave you, microbially, educationally, intellectually, physiologically, that you now can sign your own contracts and go and reconfigure them and get out from under those other contracts that were forced on you as a kid. And so even the law has loopholes for you when the contracts that were forced upon you do not serve you anymore. Okay? And so that's why watching Suits on Netflix and binge watching it and then watching it for the tidbits of information in between all the drama and the entertainment. Watching the Duchess of Sussex, okay, Meghan Markle, is awesome. But in between all that drama and the entertainment, there is actually little tidbits of information that you can transfer into the microbial world, into everything that goes on as far as contractual obligations. And that's where I went into the whole diagnose, okay, which is that word, diagnose. Diagnose is there's di in there, and then there's ag and then nose. But what do you think that is? That is, oh, did I forget to do that? Yeah. Okay, that's okay. That is, when you diagnose, you cast a spell of death on you when you ask someone to diagnose you. Because that's a contractual type of thing. When you get diagnosed, all right, when you get diagnosed, it means that you're asking someone to enter you into a contract of death. Because when you want to get diagnosed, it means you want someone to call what you have that's coming out of your body, the evolution and the life, a certain type of disease that will then imply that you want to have something to stop it. You want to have a surgery, you want to have a pill, a powder, supplement, or detox. So anytime that you look for a diagnosis from your friends, your family, your doctor, from anyone, you are going into a verbal contract that you're trying to stop the life in your body. Whenever time you diagnose yourself, you're entering into a contract that implies that you want to try to stop the life in your body. Okay? And so that's why I will not enter into any medical contract with anyone. I don't care if they're a nurse, a doctor, or anything. Because I'm not trying to diagnose myself. I call things like menopause because there is a specific culture around that people will diagnose me. But I will say menopause does not mean that you go get diagnosed officially and then get on birth control or get on some kind of drug for it or manage it with herbs or anything like that. But I still have to play both sides of the fucking fence. I still have to play in the old world and transition to the new world. Okay? And so, yeah, diagnosing anyone is implying that you want to destroy them. And that is what's going on. That is what's going on, is that we have people in these died suddenly groups, in the medical holistic system, diagnosing each other, basically casting spells of death onto each other, and also in the energy healing world. Okay? And so when you understand that that's what's going on, those are the laws. Those are the legally binding contracts. Why is it legally binding? Because, again, you have just verbalized an intention. When you diagnose yourself or diagnose somebody else with the intention, the intention is to stop the pain, then you have an intention to stop the symptoms, basically to start snuffing out your life systematically through the herbs, the extracts, the energy healing. All the different machines are out there, and they are a dime a dozen. All the herbs, extracts, everything, tinctures, whatever. And so don't play the case, play the man. This is in Suits, right? Don't play the odds, play the man. Man writes contracts. He verbalizes contracts. He enters into them not realizing what's involved. The case can be spun, but the man is emotional, image-oriented, triggered, and biased. See, that's what you have to understand when you enter into any kind of relationship. You got to understand what you're dealing with. You're dealing with emotional people. You got to know if you want to have anything work to your benefit, you have to understand the people around you, the people next to you, the people over there. You got to understand what fucking drives them. If you understand yourself, you'll understand everyone around you. Okay? And so what's a contract? The offer is the proposal that is made by one party outlining the terms of the contracts. The acceptance is the approval of the proposal, sometimes after negotiation by another party, and the consideration is exchange of value as stipulated in the contract. And so you can have an offer, there is definitely a negotiation, and there is consideration, and then there is acceptance. After you've negotiated and you figured out where you're going to get the benefit, where they're going to get the benefit, the quid pro quo type of thing. And so whenever you communicate with anyone, regardless, if you respond or initiate, you've just entered into a microbial communicable contract or a virtual contract, which is why you don't respond to trolls anymore. So as soon as you respond to trolls, okay, if you're willing to go through that contractual obligation where you're going to get benefit, then okay, respond to trolls because you got to get something out of it, or they're taking everything from you. And so if you don't know the benefit of responding to trolls, then all you're doing is being used and manipulated and played. And so that's why you have to understand that every time you communicate with somebody, regardless, you have entered into a microbial communicable contract or virtual contract or virtual contract. If you don't like the terms of the contract, don't enter into them or voluntarily engage with anyone or anything you don't agree with. Because once you do, you have entered into a contract. And so people that try to engage with me and they don't understand where I'm coming from, obviously, they're coming in at a major deficit. I know what I'm doing. When I engage with trolls or engage with anyone, okay, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know I will win because I know I have the science, I have the physics, I have the chemistry behind me. I have the understanding of what goes on in this whole world behind me. They don't. That's why they're questioning me in every single term. So already, when people question you, they're already coming at a deficit. And they don't want to learn. They just want to go and counter you and resist and cause stress in their body and then cause breakage and then blame me for it. But that's fine. That's them. So that's what I'm saying. So know your power, people. And don't enter into those kind of contracts unless you're using that person for their energy so you can go and reinforce your point and make your point better and learn how to articulate it. But if you don't know how to use somebody else's energy to your benefit, then they're just taking from you until there's nothing left. So understand, anytime you involve yourself with people who are countering you all the time, you have now entered into something and you don't know how to use that energy to your benefit, you are then entering into something that they're going to cannibalize the shit out of you until you don't exist anymore. So when you worship someone who ends up in a certain way, you have signed a contract. You have verbally signed or even on the written word or the signature. You have signed a contract until you renegotiate that contract. So when you're forced into a religion at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, all the way to 18 years old, and say you're Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Jehovah, Hebrew, any of those, you're forced into a contract with some kind of entity that's either a spirit in the air or someone dead, or even a past spiritual leader that's passed away. You've made a contract with the dead. But now that you're 18, you don't have to be tied to that contract anymore. You can go and say, okay, I'm going to renegotiate this contract and I'm not going to be tied to the dead anymore. Worshiping the dead. I'm now going to finally worship life. Okay? And so then you can renegotiate that contract when you're 18 years old. People do all the time. They go away from Jehovah, or they go away from all the different religions out there that are really highly aggressive and legalistic. And they go and do their own thing. Amish give their kids a chance to go into the regular world. They can choose to be part of the mainstream society and go work at a restaurant or wherever, or they can go back to the farm and do the Amish way. So the Amish give their kids a chance to pick the world they want to live in. That's fucking awesome. I think that's really awesome. But some people don't allow their kids to get out of that contract of death with different religions that end up dead, worshiping somebody. They have forced them into these contracts for years. We have adults that have had these contracts forced on them, religious contracts forced on them as a baby, and they can't get out of it. That's what I'm saying. Once you realize that most people cannot get out of the contracts that they're in because for whatever reason, they have signed their life away, literally, you can't convert them out of that. They have to be the one to redevelop that contract. And if they can't, they're stuck. And you can't do anything about it. Some people are not that far gone. Okay? That's the beauty of the J world. You have to find a way to renegotiate the contracts you have entered into for many years or forced upon you as a child, not realizing it was never to your benefit on your terms. Until you choose to realize the loopholes, you are not. The loophole is you are not in sound mind when you negotiate a specific contract, especially when you entered into them as children. And so when somebody converts you into all the religions out there, I don't care what it is, as a baby, you're not held to it as an adult. At 18, you can renegotiate that contract. Because you were not in sound mind. You were too young to enter into that contract of religion, politics, and scientific dogmas. When you were very sick, you can renegotiate the contracts. Microbial contracts because you were not of sound mind. Religion, again, is a contract. End result, figure it out. You take something to trial or try when you know you can win. You take something to trial when you know you can win. You only settle when you are weak and leveraged. And that's the thing about settling and taking something to trial. The J juice is like a trial, but it's something that you know you can win. The J juice in the J world is something that you take, like when you're going through Judgment Day, and those Judgment Days are like many days, and they're intermittent, and they're the hives, they're the heart attacks and strokes that you can possibly survive. People did. And they proved it when they're on Dr. Phil. When you survive aneurysms, when you survive the headaches, when you survive all the UTIs and the yeast infections, and you survive the earaches, and you survive the respiratory issues, and you survive all the constipation, the bloating, and you survive all the arm pain and the rashes, and you survive the psoriasis and eczema and all the different symptoms, then you're going through a trial. That's the trial of your fucking life that you're going to win because you have the means to. You understand food and you understand pulling out the freaking programming that was old programming. And you understand rest. You understand changing the way you do shit. Okay? And so the J world is going through the pains of the trial of your life of judgment. As you know, you can win. And you know you can win. People who choose not to do the J world know they have already been leveraged. They're not ready to lose in the court of life because if you're not willing to reinforce your body with food and dealing with the pain and all that stuff, and you're too scared of the symptoms, then you're going to settle for whatever the government has given you to settle as far as absolution. You'll get your oncology, you'll get your pills, your powder supplements, detoxes, surgeries, whatever it is, and you will settle for whatever happens. And you hope that you have a good time settling. You hope that whatever you settled for will give you the best return on your investment. Because you have to fight for your life when you're in front of a jury who are the executioners if you can't prove you're worthy to live indefinitely. And that's the thing about the J world, is that you will be facing every single thing you've ever done to yourself. And you'll have to deal with it. And so you will be on trial. And you will have to prove to your body and the world that you deserve to live indefinitely. And that means you have to seriously be strong enough to deal with the trials and tribulations of dealing with everything you've ever done and everything that you ever went through as far as PTSD, and dealing with it in a different way, not with another drug or surgery or something else. Okay. And so, contracts, I'm telling you, when you sign a deal with the devil, that's a euphemism. That's a metaphor, simile, metaphor, euphemism, whatever you want to call it. When you're asking somebody else to manage your symptoms, you're making a deal with the devil. When you're getting all these cures and drugs to make you feel a certain way, when you're getting all these things for free, but not really, there is a payment. The devil does take his due. Nothing in the cures world is going to be forever. And it will metastasize the things that you're trying to stop. You're trying to block. And so at some point you're gonna have to face. And I faced all my trolls. Do I want continuous people fucking with me? No. So that's why I have an immune system. I've built up a protection. Okay? And there's always going to be things trying to control you and possess you. But you have to have some kind of strong protection, and that you can handle when you do resist things. For whatever reason, you're very strong enough to resist them. People who resist so much and they're not strong enough to resist, they're not feeding their body and dealing with whatever, then that resistance turns into stress. The stress turns into breakage and they fall apart. But I don't want to have to resist so much. But I put down measures so that way I don't have to keep resisting. I don't actively go and look for problems so I can resist them and make myself stronger. I mean, I could, but I don't really want to. Do I want to go into a radioactive zone that is so highly radioactive, or do I want to go and get it given to me in small pieces? I don't want to be right near a radioactive zone like Chernobyl, but I can live 10 miles away and let that stuff kind of gradually transition and strengthen me. But do I want to just jump right into radioactivity? No. It's a transition process. That's what's going on right now in this whole climate change. You're in a transition process. And if you keep resisting it, you won't survive it. And so, yeah, And so cold and flu season was always in between October and March. As you know, spring allergy season overlapped with cold and flu season. COVID-19 will never be over, as instability is now the new normal, which means you'll always be constantly adjusting until you can handle the conditioning process without dying or getting a diagnosis, without entering into a government contract of death and disease. That's essentially the crux of the J world. Not entering into any more disease contracts with your government and with everyone around you. That you are now going to renegotiate. You're old enough. See, when you become, and you're dependent on your friends and family to take care of you, and you're elderly, they're not going to want you to do anything except whatever is recommended by the doctor. Some people are too far gone that they have signed their life away to the medical system, to the holistic system, that hospice and palliative care is now going to be that's going to be the devil taking his due. It doesn't have to be that way. Some of you can redirect, but others have completely painted themselves in a corner, and they didn't know it because they were never given this information at the time that they could handle it and redirect. And I'm sorry that I couldn't get this information out 5 years ago like this, but it took me 7 years to really figure out my stuff, to understand this. It will be too late for a lot of people, but it's not too late for other people. Some of you, it's not too late to renegotiate that contract that was forced upon you at birth, childhood, and all of that. You are over 18. Most of you are over 18. You can renegotiate those microbial contracts, those disease contracts that were in your genetic line. Okay? And so you're not tied to anything that was signed for you a long time ago. You now have the freedom to change and to develop your own contracts with life. But I'm telling you, every single time you use a medical person, a holistic person, an energy healing person, you're entering into a contract that is not going to be to your benefit. It will be to their benefit. But how can you say that? Because the end result is going to be death. That's essentially what you're signing up for. It's a death of the body trying to evolve. And again, the third law of thermodynamics is zero degrees. There is no evolution. You're just straight equilibrium. And so the more you attack your body's release process and gaining substance through the more you attack your body through starvation from it trying to gain substance, the more you try to stop it from releasing, the more you mitigate food and all this other stuff, the more that you will be in equilibrium, 100%. 0 degree temperature. There's no more heat. And so, watch Suits. If I recommend anything, watch Suits from the standpoint of the law, of natural law and man-made law. Understand that you bring that and translate that, transfer that to then every single contract that you sign. To understand how it all works. That's why certain cultures go into the law, chemistry, engineering, the major infrastructure of our society, because that's what runs our society. It's the law, man-made law and natural law. Understand those things. And so I'm trying to give you an idea how the law works out there in our society, how contracts work, and then also how the microbial contracts work with communication, virtual or engaging with somebody out there, with a stranger or otherwise. And when you engage with a stranger, yeah, then you can't control that contract. That stranger now has the upper hand. And if you're both strangers to each other, obviously, somebody who's stronger has the upper hand and they will destroy. And that's unpredictable. You don't want to enter into unpredictable contracts with people. Even friends and family, they can be predictable, but not in this environment. Understand the world that you live in. All right? Okay, that's all I'm going to say right now. I'm going to let this go. All right, bye.